To all of you above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is Reverend Sean Whittington's Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Reverend Sean, the Rev. Welcome to my haunted house, my very haunted house. And on that note, happy Halloween! I know it's a couple of days away, but I won't get to see you guys before Sunday. So I wish you all a very happy Halloween. Um, an old friend popped by to trick or treat. I didn't have the heart to tell him that he's a little early. And he looks terrible. He's all bones. So I told him, hang around for the show. After the show, I'll cook you a nice meal. I don't know how nice of a meal it's going to be. My wife has had me on Nutrisystem the last month. So it is what it is. Beggars can't be choosy, though, right? So that's what my plans are after the show. And I do have some bad news. There won't be any prayer urn today because it's a prayer pumpkin. Is that cool or what? I got a prayer pumpkin today. But I have a confession to make. I cheated. I was the one that put the prayer in there. And it's today for all of us. I've got so many requests from parents this week to offer up a special blessing for their kids to have, probably for many of them, what will be the first real like Halloween they've enjoyed since the pandemic, going out trick-or-treating, things of that nature. So I found a really nice little Halloween prayer that I'm going to offer up for each and every one of us, all of you out there within the sound of my voice that have kids and you're going to take them out trick-or-treating. This is for each and every one of us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. God of laughter and joy, we turn to you in the way of our ancient ancestors, grateful for the abundance of food and festivity that surrounds us at this time of year. Keep all children safe as they embark on their Halloween revels. Light their way through the dark night and enfold them in love. May the real treat in their lives be grace that multiplies in depth and breadth as they grow older. We pray this with the saints in heaven. Amen. And you know what that means, guys. You and all the children deserve a big candle today. So let me light that for each and every one of you and your families. This candle will burn for the remainder of the show, and then I will put it in the room with all the other burning candles, and it'll burn till it burns out. But may the Holy Spirit intervene and enter the lives of each and every one of you within the sound of my voice, and remain with you all and your children for the remainders of this journey that we're on and on to the next. Amen. If there's anything you want to know about my wife and I and our ministry work, you can find at our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. That's our ministry and our Facebook and our everything there, website, you name it. If you go there to visit, remember, my wife and I don't charge for our ministry work, helping people with their paranormal issues. So I know times are tough, but if you notice the donate button and you're able to do so, click on it and send in a small donation. I promise you, it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts, and we will put it to good use, I assure you. In addition to being an ordained exorcist, I'm also a certified spiritual advisor, intuitive coach. If you're having issues of a spiritual nature, not attached to the paranormal, and you would like to speak to the Rev about those things, you can make an appointment at the website there to speak with me. But don't leave the website without navigating over to the page called the WSE course/book. On that page, you'll find the Ghost Store. And on the Ghost Store, you'll find all kinds of cool things to purchase, like this awesome throwback Ghost Be Gone coffee mug, hats, hoodies, t-shirts, you name it. I challenge you to find something on there that you won't like and want to purchase. And I've never had anybody purchase anything they didn't just love. So you can check that out if you go for that sort of stuff. But scroll down a little bit further. You'll run into my new haunted autobiography, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry. And I quote, the scariest book I ever published. That was Annette Munich, owner of Stellium Books, my publisher. Don't let that scare you off of purchasing a copy. I like to refer to my book as a very different kind of feel-good story. A lot of good versus evil, where good wins. But if you haven't done your good deed for the day yet, that would be it. Because part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my book goes to support stjude.org and St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada, and that's a beautiful thing. And I recently added a new charity to that. I've been in the animal care industry most of my adult life, so this was a no-brainer. I added the ASPCA to that. So you also get to help the animals a little bit. It's all good here. It's all love. A little bit further down on that page, you'll find the Worldwide Society of Exorcists, which I am a founding member. I offer a 12-week online college-level course, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare, through the WSE. And this course is ideal for all of you true warriors for Christ out there that feel a calling and hunger for the knowledge on how to draw your line in the sand, make a stand, circle the wagons, put up a good fight against, God forbid, true evil if it ever comes calling. That's the course for you. You can enroll in the course there at the website. If you'd like to read more about the course before making that kind of commitment, there is a Worldwide Society of Exorcists Facebook page, and you can read more about the course there. Most importantly, brothers and sisters, please keep all of my past, present, and future students in your prayers. All right. Thank each and every one of you for tuning in, because without you guys, I don't have a show. And I'm going to get to why you have all tuned in. And that's my guest today. And I'm so excited to have her here. She is an author, critically acclaimed author, just came out with a wonderful book, which we're going to talk about. She is on MUFON. She's a star team investigator with MUFON. And I just recently found out a wonderful paranormal investigator, ghost hunter, ghostbuster, you name it. She's a lifelong, all things paranormal experiencer. You guys are going to love her. Please welcome to the show the one and only Jean Walker. Jean, are you with us today?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for having me, Sean.
Jean, you look so pretty today. How do you
Oh,
feel?
thank you.
With all of this pandemic and COVID and craziness going on, how do you feel? How's your loved ones, and how did everybody get through this pandemic?
Well, I've been very lucky. No one here has gotten it. And I did get my vaccination, but no one else around me has. They won't get it, but I sure got mine.
That's the same way here. You know, my wife never stopped working. I got furloughed for a little while. Then I went back to this animal hospital part time. And we both got vaccinated. She's actually thinking about getting the booster for hers, but many people at work got vaccinated, many didn't. And that's okay. It is what it is. I respect everybody's decision to or to not. And I hope in the long run, I'm just glad. I personally see a light at the end of the tunnel. When things at one point, didn't they seem so dark and and I mean, the despair was running rampant, almost as bad as whatever this darkness it seems to be moving through humanity right now, like a cancer. We really seemed to be in despair at one time, and I was a little worried. But I do see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I feel blessed for all of us for that. And so it is what it is. Let me show everybody something here that I recently got. There it is. Family Secrets by Jean M. Walker. That's your book.
Yep.
Wonderful little note you got in here to me, signed by you. God bless you for that. Um, I must have gave you the wrong address where to send it, because you sent it to an old location on the complete other end of town. By the time it got to me, which was recently, didn't leave me enough time to actually finish the book, so I apologize for that. But I read the back. The Visually, it passed all my tests because I'm one of those old school guys. If the book doesn't look interesting, I usually get to it when I get to it. A fabulous looking book. The back uh, hooks you. I read the wonderful introduction by Margie Kay in There to You. The introduction, you're done. You're done. So I already told the wife, don't bug me this weekend. This is my Halloween reading. So
Oh,
congratulations on that.
thank
I
you.
have a few questions for you, but when I started promoting that you were going to be here, a lot of your family and friends and followers sent in questions too. So we'll get to some of those. And I
Great.
want you to have fun because I'm going to want you to come back.
All right.
So, having said that, Halloween plans. Uh, you're never too old to celebrate Halloween.
No.
What are your plans?
Well, I'm going on a ghost hunt Saturday, actually, night before Halloween. We're going to do it a day early, and I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be at a lake that we have out here. It's pretty huge, and they had an old Missouri town there, which a lot of it was rebuilt from the actual town, and a lot of cabins and different buildings. And we've heard it's haunted, so we're going on this. Should be
That
fun.
sounds magnificent. I haven't been on a good old fashioned ghost hunt in years. And
Oh,
I think you're going on the better of the two nights. You're going on a night that traditionally, going as far back as I can remember, has always been called Devil's Night, the night before Halloween.
oh,
I think, in my honest, humble opinion, and I don't know anything, I think the veil is probably even thinner on that night. So you and your team be careful. Do when you get together with groups like this and do this, do you guys, and I know you're a lifelong paranormal experiencer, do you
mhm.
guys do any type of pre-hunt ritual of protection or anything, or any do's and don'ts that you plan before you go on a ghost hunt like that?
Well, it depends on the group. Myself, I usually put salt in my shoes. You don't want anything to follow you home, and
Oh my
across my
gosh. Yeah.
threshold here at home, so that when I pass over, hopefully nothing would come with me. And I usually wear a crystal. I've got a crystal cross that I wear,
Oh, that's wonderful.
and I do have some powder that's supposed to withstand any bad spirits, but sometimes I wear a necklace of that. So it just depends on where I'm going, what the group, some of the groups I've been with, we've said a prayer before we go, and do the ghost hunt. So again, it just depends.
I have never, this is a first. I have never heard of anybody putting salt in their shoes. I love that idea. I'm going to steal that from you
Okay.
live on air. I'm admitting to everybody I'm going to steal that. I carry blessed. I have my own concoction of what I refer to as Mojo Atomic Strength Exorcism Salt, blessed
Oh,
salt that I carry around. And I usually sprinkle it on my head, my wife's head, the head of everybody that's going. Of course, I've salted my home indoors and out many times, but I've never thought of putting it in the shoes. I think that is a phenomenal idea.
oh, good.
Um, that's incredible. I have to tell you, I was in the green room before the show started when you told me you were going on a ghost hunt. I was very surprised because I know you've experienced all kinds of activity of many different types your whole life, which is one of the many things you and I have in common. And one day you and I are going to have a conversation, private first, and we'll decide what we want to share with the world. But you and I,
Look forward
surprisingly
to
enough,
it.
have a lot in common. Um, I know that you're big with MUFON
Hmm.
and UFOs and all that, but I was very surprised, pleasantly surprised as you're going on a ghost hunt. What do you what's your bread and butter? What are you most passionate about? Do you like them both equally, or you're going on the ghost hunt because it's
UFO.
Halloween and all that?
I'm
UFOs.
I'm UFO lady. Yes, definitely.
Well,
I
let's talk about that for a minute. Let me see what I got here question wise from some of your fans and friends. I am going to just I'm going to tell you that I admire the fact that you are a retired science teacher.
Thank you.
God bless you and thank you for your service. It's not easy being a teacher.
Especially middle
Um,
school.
oh my gosh.
Yes.
So God bless you for that. Thank you for your service for that. Science teacher, that jumped off the page at me because you're also an experiencer. Now, I run into people all the time. They use the scientific method when they approach, even diehard believers, paranormal investigators, still try to follow some type of scientific method when they
Mm-hmm.
approach an investigation. But most people that are really steeped deep in the science are usually diehard skeptics. I love meeting someone who has your science background, but you've experienced it. You're a
Mm-hmm.
believer. So let's back up and lead. We'll get to the book, but I want to talk about how, starting at a very young age, you started to experience things, what these kinds of things were, and so forth. Talk as long as you want, Gene. The show is for you. Take us through your journey.
Okay. Well, I think as an experiencer that it kind of tends to run in families. Usually, if one person in a family has been abducted, there are others that have too. Um, so that's why I call them family secrets because not everyone's willing to talk about this, and sometimes it's difficult for me. But I'm getting pretty used to it now. I'm open type person that I don't try to hide things. Everything in my book is a true thing. It really happened, and I have both paranormal and UFO things in there. Um, started well, I feel like a lot of it being a family thing was my great grandmother was a psychic, and I remember her so well. She died when I was like 9, but she was so different than other people that I really remembered her. And I talk a lot about her in the book and the things that she did as a psychic. Some of them were very interesting. Like when my father was missing, he was in World War II and shot down over in Germany. And he was a prisoner of war for 9 months.
Wow.
So the family, all they knew was that he was missing. They didn't know if he's dead or alive. And at one point, finally, my great grandmother, she lived with my grandmother. They were both widows, and together they raised my dad. So my great grandmother Nettie went into a room, and they had those big old walnut doors that slid closed. She closed herself off in there. She was in there for 3 days in a trance. And when she finally came out, and my grandmother told me she hadn't eaten or anything, she would try to put food outside, but Nettie told her, I don't care what happens, do not bother me.
Wow.
So she saw my dad, and he was alive. And she saw him with a plate in his hand, walking across a board walkway with barbed wire on the other side. And she told my grandmother when she came out finally that he was alive, and she seen him running up the steps really happy with some good news because my grandmother lived on the kind of a hill and there was a lot of steps up to her house. And so when he came home from the war, my parents had been secretly married. Why, they, sure enough, he come running up a few months later, the steps two at a time, yelling, Mom, Grandma, Mom, Grandma. Marie's pregnant, my mother. So they were married about 7 years before I was born. So they were pretty happy. And she told my grandmother, she said, if he isn't alive, if I'm wrong on this, I'm going to quit all this.
Wow.
She said, but I think he's alive. So I kind of think things started from her and worked through the family because I have one sibling, a brother, and he has also had so many experiences, paranormal stuff. And I talk about his experiences and mine in the book. And I'm just really sure that my mother also was experiencing UFO abductions because things that I talk about it. Wish she was still alive, when I
Yeah.
wrote this book. But I had to do a lot of it from memory with my brother's help. He helped me quite a bit because some things I couldn't remember, he helped me with. Um, Started for me as I was in the crib, and the only thing I remember at that age
Hmm.
was this horrible, scary face looking at me over the crib. And all my life, I thought maybe it was a clown or something, but it wouldn't have been in the house, so I couldn't figure it out. I asked my mother about it, and she said, "Oh, it's probably your Aunt Margie with cold cream all over her face."
Yeah.
I knew her, I knew it wasn't my Aunt Margie. I don't think so. But I think they chose me from the crib and they knew what they were going to do with me, um, which wasn't a good thing. So I grew up on an acre of ground. Everybody around us had at least that or a lot more. It was kind of a country setting where I grew up. And right behind our house, we had a pond. The pond wasn't ours, but it was still right at the end of our property. Um, my dad had gotten his horse. We had a barn back there. I remember being out playing with other kids, and my brother would be like playing tag in the summer. And my brother said he remembered the one time I ran up to him and go, Ted, do you see the spaceman? He's after me. Well, I always saw this spaceman. He had a silver suit. And the really strange thing is, I can't remember what his face looked like. So he was chasing me, following me. And I had some real strange experience with him out at the pond that I talk about in my book. Um, I'm sure now that it was an alien. They watched me all the time. When I got to be about 11, I was terrified that somebody was going to take me from my parents, 11, 12, something like that. And I kept telling my parents, I just knew something was wrong. I was a kid and I didn't know what it was. And I said, they're going to steal me. They're going to take me. And I remember my dad saying one time to my mom, maybe we should put bars on Jeannie's windows because maybe she'd sleep better and feel more secure if we did that. Well, they never did do it, but it wouldn't have helped.
Yeah, I don't
They
think so
hadn't.
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in two ways it wouldn't have helped. You still were traumatized, but I think you and I both know these things would have that would have meant nothing to them. They have a way to get right through that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead, continue.
Well, I didn't know it was paranormal. I didn't know why I felt that. I felt like I was being watched even when I was in the house all the time being watched.
And you probably
And
were.
I was. And
Yeah.
when we would play outside, I'd feel the spaceman. It seemed sometimes I would get these glimpses of him. And I just called him the spaceman because of his suit. He was all silver. I'd like to go get hypnotized because there's a lot of questions I have that I can't put an answer to. And so I'd like to be able to fill in some of the blanks I have.
That
Anyway,
was going to be one of my questions later on. I was going to ask you had you'd ever had that happen to you or how you felt about that. Do you believe um, that doesn't scare you at all being hypnotized and having to
no,
obviously these memories sometimes I fear that and even with myself I've had offers to you know um, be hypnotized so many times and some for some reason I have this feeling that there's some things um, that I'm not supposed to remember and I don't know if it would be a good thing if I did and I wonder do you ever fear that and wonder if maybe your psyche reliving that stuff would just be too uh,
traumatic.
yeah, horrific, traumatic, and you wouldn't come back the same from this hypnotherapy session.
Actually, I never thought of it that way, but you've got some good points there. Um, I'm the type of person I always want to know everything. I'm very curious. I guess that's why I like science so much. I wondered how clouds were made, and so many weather things that happen. I always wanted to know about them, and I face things head on usually. Just I'm a pretty strong lady, and I really would like to know. I see I'm getting off here there. Um, I can't find myself. Anyway, no, I'm going to get hypnotized and fill in a lot of the blanks. I had two people try to hypnotize me, but they were not certified hypnotists. If anybody out there, I live in Kansas City, Missouri. If anybody out there knows of someone in my area that I could get to hypnotize me, I'd love to get a name and number.
I will also do that research for you. What city again? I know in Missouri.
Kansas City.
Okay, I will do some research for you and see if I can't put you together with somebody close to you. Also, if you do that, please let me know. And the day that I know that that's happening, I'll say a nice prayer for you and keep you in my thoughts that all that goes well.
Oh,
It's
okay.
interesting to me, your grandmother, because I had family history with people being very sensitive to spirit. My father also, was in World War II and had some things similar to your father's POW incident, situations like that. See, I'm learning things that I didn't even know are just adding more to the list of the things that we've had in common. Wanting to be hypnotized, experiencing stuff since we were young. Um, I know with it being Halloween and so many people talk about so many horrific experiences with the aliens, and I was just talking to somebody the other day who at one point hated the visitations because of the painful experiments that they did on him. But then one day, before when before he went, they did whatever they do to them to make them to where they can't fight back or anything or scream for
Mm.
help or anything. He asked them, I think it was psychically, asked them, why does this always have to hurt? I would be so more accepting of you guys coming and so more agreeable and cooperative if you guys could do something to where you weren't, inflicting so much pain on me. And it totally changed. Whatever they did, they still did a lot of things to him, but it wasn't painful anymore. It wasn't horrific anymore. I did read somewhere, and I think it's probably some of what I've read so far in your book. You had some not so bad, maybe even let's call it pleasant encounters. Um, I would be interested to have you share some of those, if you have any of those to share, because so many people hear so many of the bad things. There has to be some of this stuff out there has to be good.
Well, um, the let me just say this before I get to what your question. The worst thing they did to me was they took my babies,
Mm,
and that is something I have to this day never recovered from. I had four, what they said were miscarriages at about 3 to 4 months of pregnancy, and I they weren't normal. And in the book, I go into the details of, such as the last one, I was about 4 months. I had gone into the doctor, and he goes, "Jean, the baby's not growing anymore. It's dead. I'm sorry, it's not there anymore." I mean, it was there, but it wasn't growing like it should have. So I was just horribly upset. But he said, "Your uterus is too large, and we can't do a C&D on you till your uterus goes down." So I was very upset and worried that I'd have the baby at home and it'd be formed, and I just mentally didn't know how I could take that. Um, so I went home, went back in a few weeks. I forget how many weeks it was, and he says, "Well, it's gone. It's all gone." And I go, "What do you mean it's all gone?" Because in the past they usually did C&Ds on me when I'd have a miscarriage, and clean the uterus out. And he says, "Well, it's just gone. There's nothing there." I said, well, how could that happen? And he goes, well, he didn't really know how to answer my question. He goes, nature has a way of taking care of these things. Well, no, I don't think nature did this.
Yeah.
Um, Years later, I was um, probably 7 years or so later, maybe 8. I had this dream that I knew wasn't a dream. It was very real to me. And the part I remembered was sitting in a sterile room. It was a round room, all metal. I mean, it was all like chrome. And there were windows across from me, little windows. And then to my left was like an elevator door. The door opened. I was just sitting there on this little bench. This door opens and out walks this full grown man, and he had a little boy with him. And they were both blonde, blue eyed. They must have been Nordics. He had on both of them had on white robes with gold trim, like a gold rope that was tied around them. They walked up to me, and nothing was ever said, and I never moved off that bench. And he kind of pushed the little boy a little, and the little boy came over to me. I put my arms around him and held him. And he just, all I can say is it was a mother knew. I knew that was my son.
Yeah.
And I held him for quite a little while. And then he took the little boy, and they got back on the elevator and left. And I don't remember how I got there, how I got out of there, but the dream was so real that when I woke up, I knew I had visited my son.
Wow.
And they messed me up so bad, though, with all of this, what they did to me, that I could never have my own children. I did adopt. I went through major surgery, and it didn't work, and so I adopted, and I have a son now. So, um, which he couldn't be any more mine if I had him. But anyway, that was the worst thing that they did to me. So to think of them as anything good is really hard for me. I felt like everything they did to me was pretty bad, and I'll talk more about that later. Some of the other stuff they've done to me recently, even. Um,
Well, before we get off, I didn't expect um, the story you told me. It's absolute. I'm actually uh, shocked, and I just feel so bad for you that you had to endure that. I'm gonna if I make an inappropriate comment or I go in a direction with the conversation that you don't want to go down that rabbit hole, just let me know. But
okay.
I have to ask you this before we move on. I know you've been married
Mhm.
more than once.
Yes.
I think I read somewhere, and I'm sure all of this affected that, had something to do with that. Um, we're all grown ups here, married couples have sexual intercourse. They try to have children. Try to have families. Do you believe, as far as these invading interdimensional, if they are, or spacemen or aliens, if you will, extraterrestrials that have been visiting you and doing these things to you, do you believe you were for lack of a better term, artificially inseminated and then like a hybrid grown within you and they took it? Or do you think you conceived normally and then the babies were taken and then experimented on and made possibly from those experiments come hybrids? And if you buy into the hybrid thing, how many of them do you believe walk among us?
I think a lot of them do, and we don't know it. Yes. Nothing would surprise me. I really couldn't tell you. My husband and I were both blonde and blue eyed. The little boy I seen was blonde and blue eyed. So was the man that brought him in. So that was the only child I got to see. He looked human. So I don't know. I don't know whether they inseminated me or not. But
Fascinating to think about those possibilities, and I believe that. I believe that maybe perhaps with you it was a mixture of a couple of things. I do
mhm.
believe they have interest, they have true interest in human fetuses, but I do believe many women like you are, for lack of a better term, used as, uh, you know, an incubation vessel for these,
Well,
for
back to when I was in the crib, and that's what I say. They picked me when I was in the crib, and they knew what they were going to do with me. I do believe that.
let's say you and I buy into the ancient alien theory that we are the experiment and that we aren't the original Earthlings, that all of these advanced creatures that now the government is saying that they're disclosure, but they don't tell us anything. No one's been able to prove anything. I can't prove ghosts exist or demons exist. I've experienced them. You can't prove, what you've experienced all your life exists, but it's real, and I know it's real. I still believe this is always going to be a spiritual experiencer thing. Everybody under the paranormal umbrella, we're all experiencers, regardless of what it is, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, I think it probably would be overwhelming for even people like you and I to find out the truth about maybe just how many. For all I know, you and I could be hybrids.
Mhm.
How many of them exist and are walk among us, and the things that we just. Do you believe what you study and what you're most passionate about, and what I do and what I'm most passionate about? Do you think it'll always be that way, or having that science background, do you believe one day I'll be able to invite a ghost to sit down here with me and have an interview? You'll be able to sit and co-author a book with an alien, or do you think it'll always be something special and unique to us as experiencers, a spiritual thing, and do you think it'll always be that, or do you think we will actually go to the next level and scientifically be able to prove all these things exist?
Alien wise, I do. I think I've had the feeling for some years now that we're on the verge of something really big happening. And I think we're going to find out eventually a lot of the truth, probably not all of it. Um, I've seen on Ancient Alien a theory that they had that made a lot of sense to me. And you're probably more familiar with the giants than I
Mm-hmm.
am, that were angels and came to earth and bred with the white women, the women here on earth. And they had these giants. Um, I think we're probably got some alien in all of us, a DNA of some alien that's in all of us. There were other people out there in the world that, besides them, and a lot of them were like Cro-Magna. What's the other name for? I'm terrible with thinking of names anymore. But those type of humans, the humans advanced so far ahead of them so quickly that it would make sense that perhaps we did have some alien DNA in us. Maybe that's why they pick certain people to do these experiments or the abductions on. I don't know. And then they would probably have other reason for abductions to maybe see how we physically were doing here on Earth. Or I know I have one man that's in our MUFON group, and he says they heal him all the time.
Hmm.
That he has certain aliens that come and heal him. Um, I don't know. Some people, like his experiences are always good with them. Mine was never really good. I mean, I to this day wake up with, not long ago I had a black eye. And the guy I'd been seeing came over and he said, "Where in the world did you get that?" And I go, "I wish I knew. I woke up with it." I mean, it was, I take pictures to document all this. and I'm going to do a revision on my book, and I'm going to put a lot of the new stuff, and I wanted to get hypnotized in my new book because I still get so much. Once I woke up and I had big long scratches down both forearms. And I just happened that the next night I was meeting with a bunch of my uh, field investigator people. And the one guy looked at me and I was telling him, I said, gosh, look at my arms. And he said, those look like defense wounds. Like you were
Mm.
holding your arms up like this to defend yourself.
Wow. Yeah.
And I said, yeah, that's right. I mean, I bruises and scratches, just weird, some of the weirdest things I have had happen to me.
Well,
So,
another thing we got in common is that Missouri, I
mhm.
can't tell you how many people recently and over the past few years I've met from your neck of the woods that have, it's become, commonly referred to as the haunted heartland. And you've
Well,
got a ET highway there. We've got one here. We got a lot of weird things here. You have a lot of weird things there. What's your theory on that?
I don't know if it has to do with ley lines, but that's kind of what we're thinking. Margie Kay who's a good friend of mine and assistant director for Kansas City, for MUFON, Missouri MUFON, and she lives down the road from me, not too far. I'd say we're about 5 miles apart, and she said we live on the paranormal highway because of
Yeah.
her and me and all the things. A lot of times I'll have something happen here and I'll call her and she's seen or had the same things happen. And then we have another highway here is not far, but Margie thinks that like on the 37th, 38th parallel, there has been just a lot of really strange things happening, and we've got ley lines going through Kansas City, and she feels that anyway, and I think she's probably right about that. That's why we get so much in this area. But yeah,
I
we
uh, I have a theory, another theory that people, a lot of cryptozoologists laugh at me all the time because they're into skin, hair, blood, all that sort of stuff. I believe many of the cryptids that I've encountered and you have encountered too are alien species that are you know dropped off here, picked back up, dropped off, picked up. That's why it's so hard for investigators to track them down and
Mhm.
film them or photo them. And so much and extraterrestrial and UFO activity follows sightings of these things. That's just my personal theory. Do you have a theory on the cryptids? I mean, so many things I'm into now that I wasn't into, 6 years ago when I started doing podcasts. That I've met all these people, and now I, you, I wake up every day studying something new and finding a new passion and a new thing that I'm into. What's your take
Oh,
on all of that? You talked about the giants. That's the Nephilim.
definitely,
Um,
yes, I
you
couldn't think
know,
of the name. Thank you.
we could, what do you think about all of that craziness?
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot to it. In UFOs, I have people come and tell me really strange stories sometimes about cryptids, and I would very much like to get into that even more than what I am because I find it very interesting, and so much is happening with cryptids now. Um, I've got one lady that I've worked her case for 8 to 10 years, something like that, a long time now. I'm going to write a book on hers. That's going to be my next book, and because her case is so interesting and she has seen so much. Um, she was walked into a detached garage that she had there on her property. She walked into it and just happened to look up, and there was this huge thing. She said it looked like a praying mantis, and it was
Wow.
green, but it was huge. And she said she looked like this, and she's very psychic too. And she said, "Oh yeah, I see you there." And she said it flew out the door then. And she said aliens there. A very strange thing like happened one time. I took 4 other investigators with me, and we were all out there on her property because it was just, it's in the Eastern Independence. It was the strangest things. Everything happened there. Not far from the Missouri River, really close to the Missouri River. But I was walking around the property taking photos. I had my camera around my neck, and the 2 men that were there were out in the back, and they started yelling for me to come over there. So I did. They said, "Look, take a picture. There's an owl, big owl, up in the tree." I took numerous photos, and of course, owls are associated with aliens. And I've got a photo that, well, there's so, it's in my book. It's so, looks so much like an alien, and a lot of times the human mind can't comprehend what you're actually seeing. So you have this memory of it being an owl. So I take all these photos. I walked about 10 feet up, took numerous other photos. Then I walked a little bit further. That time the owl took off. It was huge, and it flew quite a ways off and into a field. Okay, so I get home. One of the other field investigators calls me the next day and said, "Jean, what did you find on that? Did you see the owl picture?" I go, "Yeah, the tree's there, but there's no owl. All those pictures I took of that owl. But when I got home and downloaded those photos, it was just a tree." Now, there were 4 of us. Yeah, there were 4 of us that seen that owl. I mean, they can do anything.
Yeah.
And so it was gone off the film. And I had another thing happen with Margie one time when we were down in southern Missouri working a case of hers, and we went over to the man's house, and he showed us on his video camera a picture of alien. You could see it poke its head out from behind a tree. It was really clear. I mean, you could really see the alien. So Margie said, "Give it to me. I'll take it with me, and then I'll mail it back to you." We took it, and the next day we got home, and she told me, she says, "I'm really feeling weird about this." And we had a strange thing happen in the motel room that night. I woke up, and the night before we got the video, I woke up and saw something go by at the end of the bed towards the bathroom. I was sleeping in the bed next to the bathroom. Margie was on the bed next to me by the door. And I don't know why I did this. The next morning I asked her, I said, "Did you get up and go to the bathroom last night?" Why would I care? Why would I ask her that? I guess because we're investigators. And she goes, "No." She says, "I was dead tired. I never moved." I said, "Well, crap. What did I see from
Yeah.
my foot of the bed?" So when Margie got home with the video, the alien was gone. It was off of it. It was not on the video any longer. And we both seen it. We both sit in that man's living room and watch that on his camera. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
amazing. I've had the same thing happen to me. It's amazing. It
You
really
did?
is. Yeah, things that you captured, you
Mhm.
saw, you've looked at them and said, "Oh, I can't wait to upload this into my computer or have it printed out and put it into a photo album." And you go to do so, and it's not there on the film anymore. Unexplainable. I don't know how to explain it. Um,
Well, they called it a screen memory when you see an owl and it's actually an alien. And that made me think even more when it was gone off of the film that had to have been really an alien that we were looking at.
it's funny you bring that owl thing up to because that this isn't paranormal at all, but it reminds me of a story many years ago back in California. For a number of years there, I bred pit bulls, not to fight, but I love the breed, and I did okay at it for a few years, but then something happened in Los Angeles where they outlawed the breeding of them in different counties. And so I got tired of moving from this county to that county because I didn't want to break the law. Eventually I got out of it, but I remember I was living in this one neighborhood and everybody's cats started going missing. Well, I was the one that got the blame. They thought I
Mm,
was letting my dogs roam the neighborhood off the leash at night, and they were getting everybody's cats. So I'm sitting in my car in my front yard just lounging. I don't know if I was having a beer or smoking a joint or something. And I look up and I see this huge owl, like the size of a condor, swoop
Oh,
down between these two homes. Next thing I know, it flies up and it's got a cat and it's carrying the cat off. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
nobody believed me. I went and told everybody in the neighborhood that accused my dogs of killing their cat what I'd seen. They thought I was full of it. But I never forgot that.
Too bad you didn't have a camera handy.
In the short time we have left, I have to ask you this question. I'm only human. I'm the first one to admit that probably many times I've been tricked. I've thought I've experienced one thing when it was something else. It is what it is. It happens to the best of us. Um, Ghosts, angels, demons, interdimensional beings, extraterrestrials, non-human entities, elementals. How how is your gift of discernment? How is your spidey senses when it comes to going on investigations like the one you're going to go on tomorrow night in determining what you're actually experiencing and not being tricked? Like, I think that there's been times where I've encountered ghosts, and in fact, I may have been being tricked by a demon.
Mhm.
Elementals that I've thought were probably non-human entities or ghosts. Um, Many people come to me having encounters where they think it's either a succubus or an incubus or a demonic attack, when I believe they're encountering some type of interdimensional creature, possibly alien. Are you able? How's your gift of discernment when it comes to going out and investigating and knowing if you are or aren't being tricked, or do you think that that happens to you much, or how does that work with you?
I don't do a whole lot of ghost hunting. I have done, I have done it many times, but um, usually I can just kind of tell by how things happen to me. But I don't trust ghosts because, like you said, it could be a demon that's trying to trick you. So I'm very leery about maybe believing anything they really say or anything that, what happens. I'm always a little bit leery with that. The other day, I was walking around the corner of my house. I had the dogs out and I went out to get them in. As I went around the corner, I felt something just hit me so hard. And I knew that was a spirit. It just went into me. I felt it took my breath. And
Wow.
I mean, I wasn't even thinking about anything like that. I was just out looking for the dogs. Walk. I didn't have anything on my mind like that. And it just whoop hit me. I don't know what it was, but it sure hit me hard. And I hope it went out as well as going in.
Yeah.
My brother has had incidents like that. I talk about in my book where this very weird looking thing went into him, and he said he turned around and looked to see if it went out of him, and it didn't. And I have showed this picture to many people because I had him help me, and we drew a picture of it, which is in my book. And most psychics that I've showed it to say that they think it was something good.
Hmm.
They didn't feel like it was a bad thing. Kind of looked like a rocket, and it had flipping things on it of different colors, and I mean it's just so strange. But again, when I say in family secrets, he had his sperm taken from him. My mother
Wow.
called him. And my brother wasn't married yet, and he had been living with her, but he met his girlfriend. He was over with her, and my mother said, "I want you to come home for the night." She said the back. She had motion detector lights on the back of the house, and she said they keep coming on, and the dogs keep barking. And she said, "I think somebody's sneaking around the house. I'm scared. I want you to come home tonight." So he came home, and nothing happened that night. But she got up real early to go to work, and she left really early in the next morning. And my brother remembered he saw an alien. He said they came in, they took sperm from him, and he saw the alien with holding this bottle of sperm walk out and into the hallway and around.
Wow.
And so they took my babies, they took his sperm. I think they were visiting my mother, and that's why she was scared, and there was the lights were coming on and stuff. I think, and I don't know what they might have been doing with her, but I think she was being abducted too.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. Listen, before we run out of time, let me show everybody your book again. Family Secrets by Gene M. Walker. And your website is www.genemwalker.com. I'm glad to hear that you're thinking about writing another one.
I am.
Um,
I
you
have.
are before we actually get cut off. I just want you to know I love you. I respect you. You're on the prayer list.
Thank you.
Please, when you do this regression hypnotherapy session, let me know when that's going to happen. I'd like to know how that turns out for you. That's going to be incredible. Oh my
I'll let
gosh,
someone
did I get to any of your fan questions? Probably not. Oh my gosh, and we hardly talked about anything I even have on this sheet. I gotta have you back.
Okay.
So yeah, how has this, in just the few moments we have left, how has this changed Gene Walker, the one-time science teacher, where I'm sure it won't. That's so. I find it amazing that you went into science having
Well,
such strong spiritual experiences growing up, and then how much has it changed you? Much has it made you look at science different? Has science
yes.
made you
Well, in
look at the
religious
paranormal
wise
different?
too. Well, and religious wise, it left me a little perturbed about what to believe. But I just have to believe that in science wise too. Carl Sagan said the universe is so huge that the human mind cannot even begin to comprehend how
Mm.
huge the universe is. So isn't it would be very egotistical of humans, I think, to think we're the only life in this gigantic universe that God built for a reason. And if God made us, he made them too, because God made everything in the universe. Um, and that's my perspective on it. I mean, both science wise and, I just think science wise, there's a lot of things out there we don't know about, and
Yeah.
science changes constantly. So I just think, I don't know. Religious wise, I've had several pastors tell me I should not be messing with any of this.
Oh yeah, I get it all the time. People, close friends who are clergy
Hmm.
in my field that uh, disagree with a lot of the way I approach the field. It is what it is. But listen, I am going to reach out to you with some open dates. I'll probably have you back on early 2022, and I want to thank you for taking an hour out of your busy Friday afternoon to spend with me and my viewers. I know everybody loved it. I can feel the love.
Oh,
So have a great remainder of your weekend. Be careful tomorrow night. Be careful Sunday night.
I will.
God bless you, and
God
I'll be
bless
in
you.
touch, okay?
Thank you. It's been so great to meet you. You're a wonderful person. Thank you. Look
Thank you,
forward to
Kate.
coming back.
You got it. You have a
Take
great evening.
care.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye bye.
Good night. It doesn't get any better than that, brothers and sisters. I can't wait to read her book this weekend. I will be back next Friday, November 5th. Are you sitting down? Amelia Pisano, psychic medium, lifetime paranormal experiencer, co host of The Outer Realm. That's going to be a great show. And I'll also be simulcast on a second network, Things Network. But thank you to the Paranormal United Network for simulcasting me on their show. Guys, go to the Paranormal United Network Facebook Live page. If you like my show, they got plenty of shows there, way better than mine. So thank you to everybody there at that network. Looking forward to my adventures with the Things Network. Thank you to my beautiful, passionate, always there for me, producer Adrian Hart, aka Ghost Granny, Desert Heart Paranormal, Ghost Tech, behind the scenes, making this all happen. Have a very pleasant, blessed, happy Halloween. May all your children have a wonderful Halloween. And on that note, good night, Jack. Good night, Dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. God bless you all. I'll be watching. Peace. Good night, everybody.